Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and the chicos and the chicas, of course. Today I'm going to try to do a very, very hardcore version of Inside My Head, in which I'm going to talk about particular details. So I'm going to focus on one particular area, which will be calculation again. And I'm going to focus on a couple of things. I'm going to show you and model to you how I think good chess thinking is done. And at the same time, I'm also trying to model you a couple of things that a lot of people don't do too well in their games, and that is to use the time that I have when it's my opponent's turn, how to anticipate, how to put that into practice. And for this, I think I may have chosen a bad time condition, because we are playing 6 minutes 3 seconds increment. So we are playing a Scandinavian, and my opponent seems to know his theory quite well. So it will be interesting to see how this game continues. Now, here after takes, which I'm going to do, both recaptures are valid. It was about to say that I'm anticipating the other one. And here I'm going to go with the fianchetto setup. The idea is g3, bishop here, bishop g2, castles. And then try to use these 4 pawns against the 3 here. Preferably in an endgame environment, but even in the middle game, it is going to be quite pleasant. And see how we go. Now, when I see knight d7, my instant reaction, my instant thought in regards to anticipation, that is that my opponent wants to castle queenside, which immediately makes me feel a little bit happy about myself, because castling queenside would make a lot more sense if he had taken that back this way with the pawn, so that he would get a semi-open g-file. So now I'm happily carrying on with my development with bishop g2, anticipation spot on with castles. And so now again I'm going to castle, with the anticipated move being either bishop d6 or pawn h5, thinking about some sort of kingside attack. Anticipation strikes. Now I can already see, or sorry, you should already see how much I'm in the front by correctly guessing every single time my opponent's next move. It's a huge advantage, because you are not in the dark. You know what's coming at you. And although I'm playing faster than I should, but it's partly because of the time control, you do see that I know what's coming. Like, I'm not playing the game that is on the board. I'm playing the game that is still out there in the future. Now, my next move is c4, which is going to be a very filthy tactical trick. And here comes calculation. So now I will go back to our previous calculation video, where a lot of people would go like, I want to play c4, but bishop d3 wins the rook or the pawn. Can't do that. And then you make the ultimate sin of stopping a line too soon, because that line looks like this: c4, bishop d3, c5, attacking the bishop moves. I play bishop f4, attacking the queen and the bishop on d3. See you later, alligator. Again, a move has gained a total direct opposite evaluation than what we initially thought it was. Now, I'm not anticipating bishop d3, because that's a blunder. I would have told you that my anticipated move was h5, but g5 actually makes a lot of sense, in that now when I play c5, I won't be able to follow it up with bishop f4. Now, I quite like playing in such structures queen a4, because it announces a very quick attack on the queen side. The anticipated move is king b8, against which I will either play c5 followed by b4, or immediate b4, but I'm more leaning towards c5 b4. a6 was not anticipated, and the reason for that is because usually you don't want to play pawn moves on the side where you are being attacked. And so now when I play b4, b5, it's going to hit a lot harder than it would have normally. So let's go b4. Note that now I'm not worried about bishop d3, because rook c1 defends the pawn. Anticipating h5, or I don't know what. In case of h5, I'm calculating b5. Now there is a response that needs to be made. I'm playing a little bit faster now so that I can keep up with the talk. Now, to be honest with you, there is a point in a game of chess where anticipation plays a less important role, like the one on the board I would classify as such, because I feel like I am ahead enough that no matter what they do, I will come out on top. And the reason why I evaluate this position as I'm way ahead is because my attack is really rolling in and ripping the king side, sorry, the enemy queen side apart, and their attack is nowhere to be seen. A lot of the times I get to play moves with a tempo, like queen b3 hitting here, vacating the a4 square for my pawn, so that I can roll up. Now, one of these is what I'm expecting. Bishop e2 makes sense so that he can cover that b5 square, so a4, b5 is a little bit harder, or at least b5 is a little bit harder to execute. Bishop e4, on the other hand, allows me to go instantly for b5. This move is partly, I believe, is based on the illusion that g4 and then trading of the bishop is good for black. It's not. Because g4, knight h4, bishop takes, knight takes, means that neither pawns can roll up and open up a file. So then I will get a quick c5, a quick bishop f4, a quick knight e3 in, and I'm going to look like a champion. So now the only question I have to ask from myself is that, do I want to go b5 or do I not want to go b5? b5, c5 is an interesting idea there. When ba is looking pretty shaky, but I'm thinking, would I be better off first playing c5, forcing the bishop back, and then a4, b5? So this is a classic dilemma that I tell my students to not to prepare a move that is good to go. But now what I'm thinking is, should I play c5 and then b5, or should we go b5 right away? Yeah, nah. Actually, I changed my mind. It's b5, man. If they play c5, I will take queen a4. a6 is already really, really, really weak. Bishop a5 is incoming with a tempo. That king side, queen side is falling apart. So from here on, really, what you want to do is to make sure that you do not blunder and that you calculate your own lines correctly. Here, the anticipation bit, as I said before, has dropped down because my estimation is that we are way ahead, and I can't really tell what is a good move because as far as I'm concerned, no matter what they do, it's going to be bad for them. And you have to call it like that. It's not being cocky, it's not being full of yourself, it's not being overconfident. If your position is better, you need to call it better, because otherwise you are going to make decisions based on fake humbleness or fake humility, and those will be bad calls. Because if I'm unaware of the fact that I'm much better here, then I'm more likely to play far more timid moves. Again, we did anticipate g4, although I did say that it's not really that important anymore. And I did tell you that my plan here was the c5, bishop f4. So again, I'm looking at c5 because that's the only thing that prevents this disaster. And again, the conclusion I come to is the same, that after c5, take, queen a4, this position is falling apart like crazy. So once again, not quite sure. Perhaps rook e2. I actually didn't quite recognize the strength or the possibility rather behind this rook e2, but I'm thinking queen d3, and if the rook doubles up, then bishop e3 would have separated two rocks. So now knight f8 in an already rather bad position. He keeps on going backwards, something I would recommend you not do. If you have got a terrible position like this for black, it's particularly important excuse me, to try to not to go down without a fight. So even if rook e2 loses faster than knight f8 does against a good player, knight f8 is going to lose the game against almost everyone. Whereas rook e2 may put a degree of pressure on a weaker player where they back off like, oh, I'm getting attacked, I better stop my own attack and fix up what's happening to me. And thus they would lose a lot of time in terms of not spending moves on the right thing. Now after c5, bishop e7, bishop f4, this game is over. Particularly because if the queen goes to d7, I can take, and then there is mate on b8. So once again, I'm very happy that I'm recording this because it's like like some magic that I just called everything correctly. So you can see how much it puts you forward when you anticipate correctly and instead just sit there thinking like, when will they play a move? So let's see the same guy on the white side of the pieces. I'm going to play some Sicilian. And I'm trying to do some less sharp stuff so that we can do some positional assessments as well. So I'm actually going to do d3. I never do this, never ever. But I want to do a position where I'm definitely not better, and so we need to construct plans and come up with some sort of strategy. So now I'm looking at developing g6, bishop g7 castles. That's my current plan, and I'm expecting c4, knight c3 from my opponent. That is the correct way to do that. Now, bishop f4 makes me think that he might want to entertain the idea of playing an early e5. And whilst I do not think that it's particularly good, I cannot ignore it. So if I go g6, e5, knight h5 is a pain because if the bishop moves, we win the pawn. Okay, I'm good to go. So e5, knight h5, bishop goes back, I take it. Now this bishop here is already catching my eye that it might have too few squares on this diagonal. So it needs to look out. I hope I didn't lock my family out for potential squares. But for the time being, we are doing everything reasonably normal. And now he falls for the same anticipated trick. So I knew that e5 was not working. He played at the worst possible time because now I have the bishop on it. So I've got 3 pieces to attack it. So as soon as I can move this guy with the tempo, we're done. And now I'm thinking that I'm not even going to go here. I'm going to go to d5. Because I have got a chess coach who tells me to put my pieces in the center. That being said, after I take e5, I'm going to land on f4 either way. So probably there is not much of a difference in this regard. Yeah, hard to tell. I will be honest with you, I really fancy the idea of one day using this tactic on these two. But, for example, pawn back, pawn back. Oh, wow! Look at that. So he plays bishop g3, I take with a pawn, and now I have the threat of knight b4. How cool is that? So now I would anticipate, by the way, rook d1. But I think against that I have the trick. Okay, so let's calculate. Oh, I didn't need to. So rook d1 would have been interesting. Knight b4, take, take. Maybe queen b3, forcing the knight to take, and then knight moves, and all of a sudden my d3 knight is pinned. But I didn't have a chance to do that. Now bishop f5 looks very good. Whenever you can develop with a tempo, do it, man. Or lady. Yep. We are doing it. If knight here, I'm thinking dropping back. Now that walked into this. Therefore, it wasn't anticipated because it's a blunder. I never expect my opponent to make a blunder, or even if I do expect it, I should have rather said that I'm not hoping for it or I'm not banking on it. Even if I think that the likelihood is high that it would happen, I never make a move just because I hope that they will do that. Yeah, knight a5, we are going to take the bishop. Now, I need to be mindful of the fact that this pawn is going to hang at the end of this story. So now he's attacking here, so I don't have time to attack the queen. I'm going to take, expecting knight takes back. And then I've got 2 pawns hanging. Which is a bit of a bummer because it's suboptimal. So now I need to start thinking. I guess e4 is a good start. Knight d4. Bishop takes, pawn takes. And then I can defend this with various moves. b6. Knight b6 even. Lots can be done. I didn't look at rook a d1, I should have, but after takes, rook takes d5, queen anywhere, I'm looking pretty good. Knight e5 should have been considered, so I'm actually not doing a good job of calculating this. I didn't look at that, and again, like the moves you look at when you calculate are usually the ones that you're afraid of. I didn't look at this at all because it looks like a very timid, shy, passive move. And by default, I don't believe in them. And so I didn't really consider that to be any source of danger. Also, it blocks off the D file, which means that I will have more time to reorganize my pieces to get out of this unpleasant pin. Not that knight d4 wouldn't have made the same mistake, but at least that attacked the bishop, and so technically he wouldn't have lost the tempo. Okay, so I'm thinking I will just go b6, which is a bit of a lame move, but unfortunately my planned queen d7 doesn't work because of take, take, knight takes, although then I have bishop b5 pinning the knight, and if b3 we pick off this guy. Huh. I like this. It's a cleaner move if it works than b6 is. b6 gives a way too big scope for them to do something. Queen d7, bishop d7, knight e4, bishop b5 is one straight line. If that works, it's all good. So once again, b3, knight takes c3, knight takes c3, bishop takes c3, rook c1. I pull the bishop back to f6. I'm a pawn up and I've got the two bishops. Thank you, sold. That was again a piece of calculation where at first sight I thought it wasn't playable because of knight e4. And then I looked deeper. A concept that I have already mentioned several times in the previous calculating video. And I need to come back to this all the time. Don't stop. Look deeper. Because that line, as you could see, was not over because bishop b5 created this super filthy pin. Now, I didn't mention knight d2. So bishop b5, knight d2. But if that happens, I play rook c8, attacking the knight. And they have no way to defend it any other way than b3, which again means that this pawn is a corner. So the anticipated move is b3. Note that actually I can choose to take, and then take. And that may even be better because that way we have an isolated pawn on c4. Okay, so we saw that that would come, but we thought it was bad. Now in this position he has got rook d1. He never lets me speak. So that after take, he takes on d5. But excuse me, in that case, after rook d1, I can first sack away the knight and then take the knight here. Okay, so now if I take with the bishop, that forces rook d1. Because if the rook goes anywhere else, I take the knight and the knight can't retake because of that. So if I go bishop takes rook here. Can I somehow make bishop takes, rook takes, bishop takes, pawn takes? Nah, we will just take with the knight, because now I realize that this is extremely awkward, and the rook can't really move without giving up another pawn, and I have got this check threat to win this rook. So the anticipated move now is rook fe1, which removes the rook from the pin, denies the knight e2 threat. But usually players feel extremely uncomfortable leaving a piece like this on. Case in point, instant blunder. So I did talk about this a lot in my other videos, that when people are put under pressure for an elongated time, they will invariably blunder. So here rook e1 would have been a very bold move because it leaves the rook in the x-ray, or rather on the discovery, actually not x-ray, the discovery of the bishop knight combo, but I had no good knight move. And I saw that instantly, that there is no... Oh, actually knight e2 check is good. I stand corrected. I saw instantly, and I saw it incorrectly. Rook e1, knight e2 would have won the exchange. Fair enough, but bishop e5 loses instantly to takes and then takes that. So now he's going to lose material, and with that, the game. Okay, bring all the guys to the party. Rook's on the open file. Expecting knight here, against which we are going to play either f6 b5 or insta b5. Okay, now f6. So we want to kick these pieces out. If knight c4, b5, and I'm chasing these pieces all the way back to very, very passive locations. Now knight d2 would have achieved for me what I was hoping for, that the knights are guarding each other, which is always an awkward setup. Whereas now I can just keep on progressing. Note that I do not have a penetration point. I do d3, but that's not really penetrating. And so I'm not rushing that. And now he just gave up this pawn too, which I shall take. Okay, maybe he wants to go there. But then I check the rook down. That's it, game over. And I am anticipating after this check resignation. Nope. Okay, b4, knight here, knight c2, rook c1, rook c8. This is looking not good. This is looking very, very not good. Yeah, alright. So the rest is just me basically marching this dude up on the board all the way. Everything is safely protected, and we're just rolling in. And now we are rolling in. The rook does an amazingly awesome job at cutting the king off, and I'm just rolling my pawns up. This is a thing that lower rated club players do extremely poorly, very, very often. That they have got a position like this, and they do not have a clear vision of what to do here to win this. Actually, he just resigned. And they start going on long journeys to try to win this pawn, or try to win this pawn or that pawn or whatever, when the only thing you need to do really is to have a pass pawn and then just roll with it. And look at it, roll, and all you do is just you keep on going up until there is a new queen on the board. No, I didn't even move my rook at all. Once that rook got traded off, from here on I played 10 moves in a row without even touching the rook. Because it's just such a good piece cutting off the king. My objective is to get this guy home. And so I did everything for the sake of that pawn to go home as soon and as quickly as possible. And done, dusted. Don't know how much we did get done in this video. Let's try a rematch or renew, and if we don't get a game quickly, we might call it off here. I think that I managed to model a fair few ideas rather well. Maybe we can squeeze in another one. We'll see. Yep, here we go. An even lower rated player. And yes, I know that you're going to complain why I'm bullying lower rated players. Note that these games are not rated, I think. And also, because of many of you are playing against similarly rated people, I think it's best if I model that way what to do. Now here anticipation is not going to be really relevant because he's playing very poorly. But yeah, actually I'm playing too fast. Okay, I will take back like this just to accelerate, or rather not to accelerate, but to generate a different structure. Okay, bishop f5 is looking juicy because now we are parking our bishop on the same diagonal with his queen. So now I'm already thinking about developing this queen here so that then I can play for that attack. Now, as soon as he played e3, I'm like, okay, this is trapped. And so we are playing it. This is the tactical awareness that can't be taught, in my opinion. Like, you need to see these things. And the more chess you play, the more likely it's going to happen. Yeah, okay. I think we might need to cut this game out. Because this is not going to be particularly instructive, but I'm going to... Oops, that was a mouse slip. I wanted to bring the king back. It's not going to be particularly instructive. Yep, that's a free pawn. Now he wants this. I defend that. And now we are anticipating queen takes b7, which I can't wait to happen, because then I'm going to have the b file. So again, this is a gut instinct that kicks in me that a lot of lower rated club level players wouldn't see the same way. That, oh, this is hanging, oh my god, what do I do? And there would be a great panic about the B pawn. On the contrary, can't wait for it to be gone, so that I can use this B file to attack the opponent. The other plan I'm having here is to put the queen here and then put the queen here, hoping a quick mate attack. So I'm ignoring this, in fact provoking it, so that now I can get in here. The only thing that I'm a little bit less enthusiastic about is the fact that if I go here, bishop d3 forces the queens off and then the knight is still hanging. So instead what I'm going to do is that I'm hoping that after take knight g4 I can trigger some silly moves out of him. I actually totally missed that. Okay, that was bad. That was really bad. But now, funnily enough, we are going to have some success with this mate motif. Woo! Wowzers! I nearly got mated there, folks. I nearly played here queen e4, and then after bishop c4 check, I would have had to put something on this diagonal, and then it's mate down here. So I must make sure that I leave this square available for the boss. So we take this, creating this mate threat, still covering this, and not falling for the mate trickeries. Well, in the end I made it quite instructive, because I had to be careful here. Spider sense is kicked in that there is a mate, kind of mate threat here. I nearly played queen e4, and after bishop c4 I would have got mated. Instead it's mate here, right now. Alright, well, apart from the last one, folks, I think that I managed to model a couple of things quite well in a very instructive fashion. Anticipation, calculation, where do I look, what is it that we are expecting, and how we again extend ourselves in terms of, I can't do that because blah, hang on, let's look deeper, I can do that. So that is how it happens in an ideal environment, which I managed to somehow gather and play in. And I hope that this video is going to help you for you to play games like that too, where you feel like you have seen the whole game in advance. So on that note, guys, signing off now, and we'll be back with more soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.